Larry King Live is brought to you by AT&T. It's all within your reach.
All right, let's start with, when we spoke on the phone last week, you were hysterical. Sometimes you don't know how funny you are, but you said, quote, it's okay to tell him, right?
Go on.
You said, Larry, on your show, can we say the words pimps and whores? And since I just said it, it's obviously okay. What were we referring to?
Put simply, Larry, the pimps in Washington are making me out to be a whore. I mean, Reagan is shipping out more blocks of cheese to our nation's schools than he is textbooks.
You know Reagan, though, don't you? Are you surprised by this?
I'm familiar with him, yeah. We did a few films together in the 50s. The first time I met him was at Craft Services on the set of Prisoner of War. Can't say I'm surprised. Never liked the guy one bit.
You know Nancy very well, and you know her intimately.
Larry, please. I can't speak to that on television.
You still get a lot of fan mail?
Mm-hmm.
You always get tons.
Yeah.
You ever read any?
All the time I get it. I never learned to read, but sometimes I like to look at the letters and pretend.
Fame. Let's say we're in Washington, you and I, and we go into Duke Zeber's restaurant, popular restaurant. You're aware when you walk in that place at lunch, everybody recognizes you. Everybody knows you. Everybody's looking at you. What's that like to feel that? Very few people have felt that in their lives.
Have you ever been between two brioche buns, Larry? The only thing I could say is it's really a special feeling. But those days are far gone. I'm past my prime at this point.
You think you're an over-the-hill? Do you classify yourself that way?
It sure feels that way. God knows how long I've been down in the caves waiting.
Yeah, but you're a legend, though. I mean, you do know that.
Oh, I know, Larry.
There's a standing offer from publishers in New York. The amount is incredible for you to write your book.
My story just requires something more. It needs a movie.
Hey, America, cheese gives food a new attitude that's sure to please. Give it the flavor of a bluegrass fest. Cheese gives old recipes new zest. Give American food a new attitude with cheese.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news, America has too much cheese. The bad news, we have way too much cheese.
Welcome back, guys. April, if you didn't know, is National Grilled Cheese Month, and what better way to celebrate than by whipping up a jazzy version of the simple dish right in your own kitchen.
There's a new white man out here. He's refined. For example, did you know that the new white man loves gourmet cheese?
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say cheese?
This is the world's largest cheese competition.
If you win this contest, your product is going to take off.
Experts say an overabundance of cheese here in the U.S. has created the country's largest stockpile of the stuff in more than 30 years.
64 slices of American cheese. 64. 63. 2.
American dairy farmers are facing an actual oversupply of the product, adding up to billions of pounds of cheese.
We consume so much cheese, we smuggle extra servings stuffed inside our crusts.
Government cheese make the best grilled cheese you'd have ever had in your life.
Court's in session. You ready? All rise for the Honorable Judge Armisian.
You may be seated.
The court is now in session. This case is the People and Cheese versus the United States government.
What is government cheese?
Government cheese is a microcosm in the history of cheese. To understand that moment, first you need to understand the history.
Some say it starts with Concerto Romano during the Roman Empire, but I know it goes back further. According to Greek mythology, the art of cheese-making was given as a gift to men by the gods, and the Egyptians before them coated their tombs with cheese iconography over 4,000 years ago. Who's to say where it all begins? I'm more concerned with how.
So how does the story of cheese begin?
Like all great inventions, it was an accident. When men domesticated sheep 8 to 10,000 years ago, it is likely cheese was discovered by the practice of storing milk in containers made from the stomachs of the animals. From there, wherever that may have been, cheese spread to Africa, to Europe, to Asia, and eventually, in the 17th century, to the Americas. I believe it was the English Puritan dairy farmers who brought their knowledge of cheese-making with them from the Old World to the new English colonies, and with that, America got cheddar cheese.
Naturally, it was the British responsible for cheese-making in America. The British are responsible for
in America, but certainly not the last. By the 19th century, the state of Wisconsin became the cheese-making capital of America. And in 1885, in a small farming town, came the birth of a new cheese.
2,827. Let that number sink in for a moment. That's the amount of commercial cheese factories in Wisconsin in 1922. Folks could simply not get enough of that stuff. America had an unrivaled passion for the dairy products. We may not have invented cheese, but god damn it, did we perfect it.
Cheese has proved to be an American staple, and it's been there in times of need. In 1937, in the thick of the Great Depression, Kraft introduced boxed macaroni and cheese. For just 19 cents, you could serve a family of 4.
American ingenuity.
barbaric.
And those boxes served an even bigger purpose in the coming years when rationing amped up due to the Second World War.
Take down every Robert E. Lee statue they got there in the Mississippi, replace it with a big old bronze bust of a box of Kraft mac and cheese. That there is a true American hero.
Powdered cheese is a travesty, but that's neither the first or the last time America has tampered with the sanctity of cheese.
These rich-tasting cheese squares fit perfectly on shredded wheat crackers.
After the Depression and World War II ended, Congress passed the Agriculture Act of 1949, establishing a formal price support system for farmers. One key feature this act had was giving the government the power to purchase excess products from American farmers, the most notable being wheat, corn, and of course dairy.
And that's where I come in. Well, almost.
We will now hear from the people and the cheese.
There has been a tragedy, an unforgivable crime committed against the cheese and people of America. And by who, you might ask? The U.S. government. Throughout this court case, we will detail and expose the heinous crimes that the government has done. From imprisoning cheeses underground in caves and warehouses in Missouri and letting them mold, to giving that moldy and unfit cheese to the hungry people in impoverished areas of America. We will show here today that the government is in fact guilty and should be held responsible for these crimes.
We will now hear from the defense.
Hello, Judge. May I just say you look beautiful today? We have all heard this story of how the US government was irresponsible and negligent of both their citizens and dairy products, but this in fact is not true. The government did in fact start the production of huge amounts of cheese. They did maybe make a little bit too much, and they did give it out to the people. But this wasn't out of negligence. This was a carefully thought out plan carried out through a number of years and through a number of administrations. But the goal of this plan was to not give out moldy cheese to the people. It was to feed the hungry. And in this courtroom today, you will hear in detail how this happened. Thank you.
I believe the year was 1977.
The year of Star Wars and Fleetwood Mac's rumors.
The grand opening of the first Chuck E. Cheese in San Jose, California.
The first personal computer unveiled.
The year snow fell in Miami, and Roy Sullivan was struck by lightning for the 7th time.
The beginning of a new administration after the turmoil of the Nixon-Ford years.
Jimmy Carter, may God rest his soul.
Jimmy Carter's still alive.
Well, I'll be damned.
When Carter took over, dairy prices were all out of whack. His solution was enacting a new subsidy that put $2 billion into the dairy market over the next 4 years.
That's what I like to call putting big cheddar into big cheddar.
It became profitable for farmers to produce milk, and so they did. But milk's shelf life isn't that of grain or corn.
Milk don't age like that Jimmy Carter, though.
There was nowhere to store it all before it spoiled, and so excess milk was turned into butter, powdered milk, and cheese, then bought in boatloads by the government.
Like my great-grandpappy said, if you can't milk, cheese.
What's the specification of your practice, doctor?
I'm a doctor of cheeses and stuff and health of cheese.
And how long have you been practicing?
About 8 years.
So that would make you some sort of a expert on cheeses and problems that might plague a cheese's health?
I guess so.
So when different cheeses started showing up to your clinic with the same type of mold, did you notice anything out of the ordinary?
Not necessarily, or at least not at first.
What'd you notice?
I saw that a lot of the cheeses were contracting the same type of mold, one that they get when placed under unfit circumstances.
But cheeses mold all the time, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Did they all have the same story?
Yes.
And what was said story?
That the government took the cheese and placed them in warehouses and caves.
That seems a little bit absurd, right?
Objection. Speculation.
Sustained. Move it on.
Sorry, Judge. I just have one final question for the good doctor. What was the name of the mold?
Excuse me?
What was the name of the mold?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. Just answer the question, doctor.
I believe... I think it is called Penicillium glaucom?
I believe it was Penicillium candidum. That's all. Thank you, Judge.
Butter and dry milk are easy to distribute. Butter sells itself, and the dry milk they could sell on the international market. Cheese is not that easy to sell overseas, and so the cheese was stored in caves throughout the country. It was similar to most American cheese, a blend of Colby, cheddar, washed curd, and granular cheeses, made to be sliced and melted with ease. But with no market, the cheese remained underground.
The big question going into the 80s was, what do we do with all the fucking cheese?
Let us begin an era of national renewal. Let us renew our determination, our courage, and our strength.
The Reagan administration inherited over 500 million pounds of surplus cheese from Carter and needed to do something about it.
One USDA official suggested the cheapest and most practical thing to do would be to dump it all in the ocean.
I'm a goddamn block of cheese. I can't fucking swim.
Despite having promised to scale back on government-sponsored food assistance programs, Reagan needed a way to get rid of the cheese. In 1981, his administration decided to distribute free processed cheese to America's poor under the Temporary Emergency Food Assistance Program.
Cheese from the caves was cut up into 32-ounce blocks, packaged, and distributed all across America.
To food pantries, elderly homes, school cafeterias, bodegas.
I was everywhere.
Colonel Jarlsberg, did you order the code yellow?
Objection. Repetition.
Overruled. You may continue, prosecutor.
Did you order the code yellow? I want the truth about the cheese.
You can't handle the truth about the cheese. Son, we live in a country that has cheese in warehouses and caves. And you know who has to protect that cheese? Men with guns. Is it going to be you, Mr. Prosecutor? Is it going to be your assistant? I don't think so. No matter how tragic the imprisonment of this cheese may be, it saved lives. And no matter how evil my existence may be in your eyes, it also saved lives.
Did you order the code yellow?
I did my job.
Did you order the goddamn code yellow, Jarlsberg?
You're goddamn right I did.
Government cheese became synonymous with poverty in America.
Lord knows it wasn't the worst thing the Reagan administration sent into impoverished communities.
But a question I always ask myself is, who was helping who?
Most government food assistance programs come as a result of surplus.
By 1984, the US was storing roughly 5 pounds of cheese per American.
Every American had about a small baby's worth of cheese sitting in a cave somewhere.
There was no choice involved. If you were poor and in need of food in the 80s, you got what you got. And what you got was cheese.
The big cheese.
In a country where about 36% of people are lactose intolerant, it makes no logical sense.
But America ate the cheese. Some loved it, some hated it. But as quickly as government cheese came, it was gone.
By the 90s, it was no longer profitable for the dairy farmers to produce at such high rates. The government was able to sell most of the cheese to private companies, and the stockpile shrunk for the time being. The most notable cheese-related occurrence at that time was the Clinton administration's creation of the Dairy Management Incorporation to help sell increasingly undesirable dairy products.
So I say to you, as you look ahead, the issue is, what should we do now?
While government cheese may have been gone reality, it remained with America in spirit.
You see, America's love for cheese didn't end in the 2000s.
That love has only grown deeper, more tender.
Finally, the pièce de résistance, a very special, very rare.
From 2000 to 2017, liquid milk consumption fell 24%, while cheese consumption rose 21%. But it's not the same old American cheese that the citizens are flocking to. In 1985, only 39% of cheese consumed was non-American. But by 2017, non-American cheese made up 56% of the total. Among those other cheeses, America's new favorite cheese, me.
The rise of mozzarella can be attributed to the increase in popularity of restaurant delivery and carry-out. Once viewed as an Italian specialty, Domino's and Pizza Hut helped to bring pizza into the mainstream.
It's wrong, isn't it?
But it feels so right.
Then it's a deal?
Yes, we eat our pizza.
In 2019, the US pizza market was worth more than $45 billion.
On any given day, 1 out of every 4 American males from the age of 6 to 19 have a slice or more of pizza.
And you know them bastards are getting extra cheese.
But you can't blame them. It's not the public's fault. The Dairy Management Incorporation has an annual budget of $140 million, and their main purpose is to get Americans to consume dairy products.
Again, 36% of people in this bloody country are lactose intolerant.
The government has bailed out the dairy farmers for years. Every time there's a surplus, the Dairy Management Incorporation
has an initiative to get Americans to consume more dairy.
The Got Milk campaign.
Milk as part of the federal school lunch program.
Taco Bell's double steak quesadillas.
They even bailed Domino's out during the 2010 recession to keep Americans eating cheese.
You know, I did once have dreams of being on a pizza.
And this is all in spite of the recent Department of Health and Human Services studies determining that daily consumption of dairy products isn't as healthy as previously thought.
Per capita, the US eats more than double the amount of cheese than the next closest country.
Every American is eating about roughly 40 pounds of cheese per year.
From 2016 to 2019, the USDA bought 22 million pounds of cheese, spending over 47 million and distributing much of it through welfare programs.
History has been known to repeat itself.
But at what point does it stop?
Today, the surplus in cheese is stored in limestone caves across the country, with the majority of the stockpile in Springfield, Missouri.
The current 1.5 billion pound stockpile takes up nearly 2 million square feet of space.
It weighs more than the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, Tower of Pisa, and Great Sphinx of Giza combined.
But it weighs even heavier on the minds of those who care.
Those who don't want to see good food go to waste.
Those who are tired of spending half their day on the throne.
I believe it was Shakespeare who posed the question, but the sentiment is just as relevant today as it was then.
To cheese or not to cheese?
After careful evaluation and deliberation, I have come to a verdict regarding the people and cheese of America versus the United States government. This has been a situation which has plagued our great nation for many years, and it is time it has come to an end. There have been wrongs on both sides of the issue regarding medical examinations, improper storage of dairy product, and refusal to find a middle ground. The United States government had good intentions when starting this program and were trying to make the best out of a bad situation. The cheeses involved were also trying to do the same thing. So my ruling on this case is this. I find that the United States government is